So this piece added up. I think I was listening to, what's their name? That's the name of the song. I'm gonna add it up. They sing Sun Blister. Violent Femmes. Femmes is what I was listening to when I came up with this piece. But in my previous one, I talked about the uh, near-death experience that I had. And this is kind of adding on to it, kind of how when you're going down this tunnel or this vision you're having, when you come out of the blackness of it and you're going down this tunnel, this is kind of how the lights to me all were coming together, that they were little pieces. And the way I can, only way I can explain it is like each one of these little light pieces were individuals coming together to create this big one. And this is part of me visualizing or trying to get you to visualize the experience that I went through and trying to put it into a piece of art. This is a pure fractal, by the way, and I didn't do much to it. I wanted to keep it really simple and show that. It's almost like, you know, coming together, the Big Bang Theory almost, like all these pieces of light are magnetized to this one. They just keep until there's this opening of light. So that's what this piece to me is about. But what I'm going to talk to today about is artist visualization and visualizing your life. I seem to do this quite naturally. I fantasized a lot as a little kid in my little play mode. After going to bed, I would stay up and you know, pretend I was with the TV characters or the cartoon characters and make stories up and stuff like that. So I was really, and I think all children do this naturally. There's a quote by Picasso about the challenge being to stay a child. Everyone's an artist, but some of us outgrow it. I wish I had the exact quote, but children do this naturally when they're playing. Some more than others are really good at playing alone, and I was. Well, it's good playing with my little sister too, but she's kind of a handful. Anyway, there was some question, when you have this experience and you come out of it later on, you kind of question what you saw or what you felt or what you thought you were seeing. And to me, it was it just a visualization I was putting myself through? And I didn't think that was the case. It felt very real. But today I want to talk about visualization with this piece. I kind of had a mural, and this isn't it, that I put together 10 years before I made it. I visualized that painting. And artists do this, and if you're not doing it, you need to. But visualization not only works for an artist, as in, mapping out where you want what on your drawing or painting. It's also, seeing it in your mind's eye. Okay, and maybe that's the same place that I was seeing in my own near-death experience. But visualization I've done all my life. Basically, there was a point in there where I don't know, I was 15, 16 years old, and I looked at my dad, and I'm like, I'm going to own my own house before I'm 23 years old. Or 22 years old. 20. Or something like that. And lo and behold, because I thought that and could visualize it in my mind, me owning my own home, by the time I was 21, I owned my own home. It wasn't anything elaborate. Didn't visualize exactly how I wanted the house to look or what it to look like. I was pretty open and pretty general about it, but I had a visualization in my mind of owning my own home, that was something I was going to do. So, by 21, 22 years old, I owned my own trailer. Um, it's not the same as owning a house, but it is a home. And, I still had to pay lot rent. So I hadn't thought out the details of it. I just kind of put that out to the universe. I'm going to own my own home. And I did. And it was affordable. I lived there for a couple of years, in fact, and then let it go. Got a divorce. I was young, so got a divorce and, left it to him. And, that's a totally different story. It has nothing to do with visualization. But there's a mural that I did, and this kind of speak to the artists that are listening. Um, it was 10 years in the making. I kind of, had this idea about an hourglass, and how you turn it upside down and it looks, you flip it over and you see something else. Um, so I had this incorporated, you know, I visualized me kissing a lot when I was growing up, kissing, you know, your prince or whatever. Um, so I could see, and I mapped it out on a uh, regular piece of sketching paper, how I wanted two coming together to form a kiss to create that hourglass, that this is our time sort of statement, and visualize how I wanted it to be about earth, wind, fire, and rain, you know, and have different sections to that. And as over the 10 years, I kind of added a little bit to here or there that, I wanted them to be in a kit, locked in a kiss, and, it was after my near death experience and, the loss of, because I did go through a divorce and breakups, that sometimes you feel lost there and kind of lock away the tears. And, I had all this different symbolism because I studied symbolism quite a bit, and the fractals are symbolism to me of kind of um, that near any near death experience. So when you talk about visualization, you need to visualize it. This is something I want to teach my kids, and if I haven't already, I think they're doing it. I'm watching the two oldest, they've already visualized themselves into homes and having happy families. It's something that both of them determined was important to them. And that my son is, um, he was 23 when he bought his first home. My daughter, by 25, they'd already bought and settled in. So, it's something that maybe it's instilled from your parents, but I don't think so. I don't think everybody, they think it's just some meditative thing that you do and, yoga guru kind of thing. And it's really not. Artists use it all the time, but it to visualize out a painting or a mural or a project, like me doing this 365 days fractals, was to tell a story about, you know, kind of how I saw God and um, my near death and the story of it that was in a kind of abstract way, because I really can't or don't talk about it too often. I don't want my daughter to feel bad because we both nearly died, or her father or anything like that. That's not the goal. It's just sharing of the experience. And for years, I kind of felt awkward. I could talk to people about it anonymously, and share my near death, but I couldn't, talk to just say my sister or something, because you get, well, that didn't happen. Well, no shit, but it did. And I didn't want to deal with arguing about it or anything else. And, there's probably a point in there where I could have sued the hospital for what happened, but I didn't. Anyway, back to visualize what you want in your future. I sat as a teenager and visualized what I wanted. I wanted to own my own home. I'm pretty much in that headspace still. I own my own home outright. It's paid off. All I got to do is pay the taxes on it. And I worked for that very hard. But the thing about it is I could visualize me owning my own home. When I walked into this house, I looked around and it was smaller, and it worked for me for retirement, but it still fit my older children because they were on the verge of moving out. And I literally could visualize, I could see myself living here. And, a couple of years later when they got older, I did that. So I paid for the house outright, which was a goal of mine. And I hate to call them, they're not just goals. You can have goals, but if you don't sit and visualize or see yourself doing something, then it's probably not going to happen. Okay? But if you can sit and visualize, and I did this when I was going to be handed a sum of money, that I sat and visualized what I wanted. Not the exact specs, which maybe is something you can do. I want, when I own a home, I want to decorate it in farmhouse blue, robin egg blue, which I just did. But you visualize what you want to happen to you in the future, and artists do this with murals and artwork pretty easily. And if you can't, it's something that you need to work on to improve your art. I'm doing it again. There's a mural in the back of my head about a TV and an ashtray, and it doesn't make any sense. But once I plot that out and it comes together, I'll be able to put that on a large mural pretty easily. Because I didn't have a lot of time to do that mural, but if I hadn't visualized it, okay, it never would have got done. All right, me sitting and thinking it out and going back to it. And there's a part in there you have to clarify what you want and bring it in as much detail as you can, because I kind of wasn't specific on what kind of home I ended up in a trailer the first time. But that visualization of me being a homeowner was something that was quite prevalent in me, or instilled in me, and I would visualize about owning my own home. Maybe not the specifics. And I think I've gotten around to, I am actually drawing out floor plans and thinking about how I want the house to look. If I do buy a next one, that what I wanted to do and what I wanted to accomplish, and what would I have in my dream home, sort of thing, and how would I decorate it, and is there a pool, is there not a pool, do you have room for guests, is it going to be smaller, is it going to be bigger, and kind of, it's not just dreaming, it's actually sitting the time and meditating on what you want in your life. And I knew, and this is why I keep using the mural as an example, I knew I wanted to make this painting. I mean, it's something that I took time out, I visualized, I put it on paper, I added details to it, and then finally, I did the background of it, and then life got busy and I couldn't get to it, but I still had that sketch, and I still had, the background of it done, and then I'd add a little another detail to it. So it's taking action. It's not just visualizing. Visualization is important, but you have to act on it in little increments for your visualization to manifest. So, you know, I'm just giving you examples of things that I've visualized over my lifetime. There's been more than once that I've walked into a photo studio to say get my children's photos done, like when my son was a baby, and I kind of looked around and even said to myself, I could see me working here. This would be perfect for me. I wonder if they would hire me, kind of, and you know, and putting it on the back burner, and then years later getting hired by that company and doing that job. So, and being a photographer. So, this is the kind of stuff you sit down and you think about, and you can see it in your mind's eye. I can see myself doing that. I can see myself living here. I can see myself living here with my children. Can see it decorated and kind of plotting, when you go to look at a home. And a lot of people I find are good. Oh, my whole family's in real estate, by the way. So um, um, they're good at looking at it if it's just white walls and kind of empty, and visualizing, if it would work for them or if it wouldn't work for them. But they're not real good when there's a bunch of stuff in the house because it's somebody else's present and they can't see how they um, redecorate it or something like that. So in real estate, they usually have you paint the walls white instead of having like, cutesy stuff painted on the walls or whatnot, because it sells better, because some people can't get past your own decorating style because they don't have strong visualization. Another good example of visualization is my previous website. I would sit and work on it a little bit at a time, and I would visualize, I really need it to do this, and I want it to look like this, and I want it to do this, and to share that, and da 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 da, and eventually I'm going to be good enough at this to create a piece of software and just sell it to people. One of these days, they'll be able to just put in a credit card number and purchase it. So the website was actually got pretty popular among daycare providers and mothers and other mothers like me with small children. And eventually I packed that up and into a software program. But it was increments. I could visualize myself being able to be good enough to actually turn this into a software program at some point in my life. And, it's taking action on your visualizations a little bit at a time. I went back to school, and I learned the programming to build that piece of software. And then life got busy again, and the software's just kind of sat there, and it's because I am not taking the steps. You've got to imagine yourself taking the steps to make something happen. Okay, I can just post it on Facebook and nobody's going to see it on a page. There have to be steps involved to push you towards that goal, of the software actually selling online. You can sit and imagine, I finally got the website up to sell the software, to, you know, promoting it and being able to spend a few advertising dollars, and then finally I start reaping some rewards, and you can imagine the money flowing in and you being relieved that it finally paid off. So what I'm telling you is visualization is very important. Without the visualization and you actually walking it through your mind, the steps, and getting detailed and clarified about what you want to see out of something, it'll never come to fruition because you won't, if you can visualize the steps, I can see myself drawing out this. I can see this is the way I want this painted. I can see, you know, me finally taking this, the next step that needs to promote the software. My latest step on that was I created the box, that the packaging that the software would come in or look like. So how do you visualize your life? Basically, I've always had this, and Pinterest is like really fantastic for this. Fan, they used to call them dream boards, okay? And even it was recommended to photographers, go home and get a magazine and or many magazines and cut out or add like a collage of things that you want to be able to, you know, photograph like. And then you take steps to build your portfolio till you've got the portfolio that was like your collage. So with my kids, what I would say is, okay, they've visualized these houses and cars and children into their life. What is How do you visualize the rest of your life? I mean, you've always got to have that next step forward of where am I going from here? Visualize what you want your relationship to look like. Take little steps into making your relationship that quality one that you want. Ask yourself what inspires you, what motivates you. The dream board concept is, and this is people that aren't artistic, but if you just take on Pinterest and put things on there that you want to see manifest in your life. I put together a private area for me. I've got all my artwork there, but you know, my private boards are, you know, I was thinking about taking a piece of land and a house and turning it into a photo studio. And I was, you know, I visualizing the equipment, the way I wanted the walkway to walk up, you know, how I wanted it to look when they walked in the studio. And it won't be the exact same, but you'll visualize these items into your life, you know, or taking steps to build that studio. Um, and I did actually get it put together. I ended up going and purchasing, I only spent $1,000 maybe on $10,000 worth of equipment, and actually had a photo studio put together because I sat and thought about what I needed and the way it should be set up, and you know, what kind of backgrounds do I want to have, and what, you know, and it was just baby steps all the way there, one little thing at a time, one little item at a time, one little photo shoot. They say that you spend 1,000 hours on hand-eye coordination, you drawing, that you'll be really good at drawing or anything else actually. So what helps us to obtain what we want in life basically is visualization. You know, I could visualize I wanted a boy to go with my girl, and that was when I had my first daughter. You know, I knew at some point in my life I'm going to have a little boy. And, you know, later on, sure enough, 4 or 5 years later, there I was with my little boy. Another example was, you know, 10 years ago, what I wanted to do on YouTube really wasn't possible yet. You could, I think the most you can make is maybe a 15-minute video, and I didn't think the TVs at the time were capable of, well, they weren't. You couldn't loop a YouTube video. Um, but now you can look at a piece of art on YouTube and loop it and leave it there for the next 32 hours or the next week, or, you know, or put it on there when you're not watching your TV and show a piece of art. And I knew at some point in life that was going to be possible. I didn't know how and I didn't know when, but I could visualize people putting up my artwork, and that's happening now. that they can put it on their TVs and they can understand, yes, this is a piece of art, and this does this go with my decor or doesn't it? You know, one of the big things that I was having before when I was building my first website was, one of these days I'm going to understand this programming stuff thoroughly, and it's not going to be such an obstacle to me. But another thing that I wanted to make sure is I had products. I'm like, I need a product to sell. They're not going to buy these graphics right now, you know, and at the time when I was making the graphics, you couldn't even sell a graphic online. You couldn't sell a photo. You couldn't do any of that. There was no way to take a credit card, you know, and I did. I visualized at some point this is going to be where I can post something and them not take it and then pay for it. And that's all going on today. Now you can download a copy of this and put it on your TV screen on a flash drive, and put it on your TV screen, and it display whether you're connected to YouTube or not. So I visualized what I could see happening in the industry and what I wanted to see happen with my artwork for people to understand. I visualized a project of 365 days of me doing artwork and really getting in the groove and understanding. I didn't use Photoshop. I used Corel, and I'm like, well, I got to learn this anyway. And I could visualize myself at some point being really good with Photoshop, which later on landed me a job. I thought about, gee, I could do this someday. I'd love to have this job. But you got to understand that there's a big difference between fantasy and visualization. You can sit and think about, like I did, a painting for 10 years, and you can either take the action towards it and start doing it a little bit at a time, even if you don't have a lot of time, or you can just not do anything and think about it and never get it done, and eventually you'll let it go. I just happen to be stubborn, and if I come up with an idea of this is what I want to do in my life, I visualize it and I take tiny actions towards that goal. So you have to clarify what it is you want, and you know, the more you clarify, the more details you bring in to exactly how you can picture your life, how you're going to do that becomes clearer and clearer, and visualize what it is you really want to be doing with your life. And then you sit and you imagine yourself doing that, and as you imagine yourself doing it, you know, well, how would I do that? You know, and you becomes clear in your head. I can do what I thought about doing 6 months ago now, and take a step towards it. And those tiny steps end up becoming real steps. And when I do a piece of art, I just did a cheesecake in colored pencil, you know, and my goal was I need to get good at showing realistic lighting in my drawings. So I had a goal of something that I was going to learn, and I could visualize myself learning it because I have that photography background. Light's important to me, and being able to show light correctly and even a colored pencil is important to me. So, but artists usually don't draw the whole thing at once. I do an eyeball here and an eyeball, then I do the next eyeball, and then I do the nose, and then I do the ears, or they have a routine. They take it off in little baby steps to get to the whole painting done. It's not done all at once. You do one little section or one little thing, and you add to it each time. And it starts off with something imaginary in your mind's eye at first, until you've done enough of those steps that you have a finished painting. You do eventually get done. I was starting to question that with that mural that took a decade to put together. But so it's when you talk about visualization, you can't just go with you know, it brings in the law of attraction. You know, if you sit and think about negative things all day long, you know, you're going to have a terrible day, and you're going to bring more of that cruddy stuff that you're thinking about into your life when you don't want it. It doesn't mean that you're ignoring cruddy things. It means deal with it, and then you move on from it and you visualize something better for yourself. And then you take steps to do that. And I think that Pinterest and wish lists are like really important. I don't like the idea that they call them wish lists, because they're not wishes. They're you planning your next purchases, or things that you might like to purchase. You may change your mind about it, say that doesn't fit in there, and remove it from your wish list. You know, but there's maybe things in there that you're keeping on your Pinterest board. I definitely want to do this at some point, and eventually, you know, you'll see that enough on your vision board. And that's really what Pinterest is a vision board, a dream board. You know, I call them vision boards, because and I was doing this in my early 20s. I would, you know, grab a magazine and see something in the living room in the magazine that I really liked, or a certain haircut, or a certain, and I could visualize that on me. That's why you always see magazines laying around the hairdresser. They want you to be able to look at it and visualize that on yourself before, and then they have a better idea of what you want. And then they do that god awful thing, and they take the action to make that happen for you. So I've been putting together vision boards basically since I was young. I that started out. I had a whole file cabinet full of vision boards. You know, I'd see something, I would cut it out and go, eventually, I'm going to do this. And a lot of it for the file cabinet went into my Mommy's Biz software, which is preschool software for the kids. You know, so a lot of it was reminders, make sure you add this, make sure, and they would trigger, oh, yeah, I need to actually do that. I need to make this painting or whatever, you know. Even the mural that I did with the giant kiss on there, I visualized as a teenager growing up and kissing, not getting married or anything, just really enjoying a kiss. And, you know, it turned out my second husband was an awesome kisser, you know, just perfect at it. We're divorced. I can't stand him for anything else, but I will still give him that. He's an awesome kisser. But my point is, to that, I could visualize seeing myself with an awesome kisser. And then eventually that manifested in my life. So with a vision board, you know, if you're not using it to, you know, I will take, and I'll use it how I use it as an artist. I will take, you know, there was a mural that I did when I was younger of a Grim Reaper, which, you know, I'm into that kind of heavy metal stuff. So Grim Reaper with a crystal ball put out. Well, I needed something to show me for reference, and it was a lot harder to get references for stuff that you wanted to put together or make a mural of. 20 years ago, you had to buy a lot of magazines and for reference photos. Um, than it is today. Today, you can get online and go, I need, you know, a reference of what a tiger looks like, so I can draw it for this mural or this sketch. And it's a lot easier. You can just go type into Google tiger and go to images, and poof, there you can go through, well, what kind of tiger do you want to draw, and blah, blah, blah. And never underestimate References. References are visualizing what you want in your artwork. So here's another example. It's like one of the last things that I haven't done yet. I've done photography, traveling, and going from place to place, but I haven't actually. One of the things left for me to manifest is I wanted to do art shows. Well, I've got a list of things that I got to draw and put towards a. I call it portfolio, but honestly, it's going to be stuff for. I want to get a van. I want to do van life and travel and go art show to art show and sell my artwork. And I think everybody's got a little bit of that bug watching the tiny houses kind of stuff that's popping up on Facebook, but or on TV. But I've been visualizing being able to do that, um, travel art show to art show since I was young. And it's just one of the last things I haven't got to do. So we all still have to have goals. And visualizing is like creating a little mental goal list for yourself. That I really want to do this, or I really want to buy that, or I really want this in my life. And you have to sit and think about what is it you really want. Well, my kids can tell you I have pretty much focused on kids and art since they were little. What did I want to do on a daily basis? I wanted to do art. I wanted to spend time with my kids. I did those things. I wanted to create websites. It's what you focus on. I focused on my kids, art, and spirituality my whole life. And how was I going to do it? I focused on management. And that was my starter career when I first left high school. I couldn't see myself working in a factory. I didn't like it. But I liked retail and I liked accounting and I liked making money. And so I went down the management trail and, I managed kids, art, and learning computer programming. So my dream board, going into talking about something that I visualize right now, I visualize traveling from art show to art show. Um, and then I took steps looking into, well, what do I need for the art show to make that happen? And I finally did an art show. I was invited to two of them and did those and got a taste of it. And then, realized, well, I'm a little uncomfortable and I got to work through this and I got to work through that. But then I went into photography, which was something else I could visualize myself doing. Being a manager at a photography studio was not that far of a step. The management background I had stepped me into, oh, they're going to teach me photography and sales, or continue to teach me photography, and step into that role. It wasn't a far leap. I had the background where I could use the software and learn it easily to run the studio. And that didn't just happen overnight. It was baby steps. I'm going to learn this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to school for this. I'm going to, you know, um, learn, you know, perfect example is I thought, you know, me getting the job that would manifest me owning a home when I was in my early 20s was management, and that I needed to learn more accounting, and that it was a lifelong skill that I was going to be able to carry with me that would earn me money. So if you haven't used Pinterest, I highly recommend it. I kind of peeped it at my daughter's Pinterest, and it's all full of artwork. And it's similar to what I was doing with the file cabinet years ago of, saving this or saving this sheet of paper or that printout or this printout to remind me to do this or that or that or take this step to doing. And it all manifested into a mural. At the bottom of the mural, you can see all the little things that over time that, I have learned or gathered or got or thought I needed, or things I've discarded that, you know, I could visualize, yeah, I could see that in my apartment or my house. And then later on, well, I didn't need this, you know. Sometimes we visualize small things when we go shopping, but we're not looking at the big picture and going, I can manifest so much bigger and better if I just hold off on that purchase. So the vision board, or using Pinterest as a vision board for something like that, helps you see, you know, put it up there and do I really need it? Okay. But think about it. You know, it's in the back of your head. I really want this sweater or this type of sweater. And you may pick out 20 of them and discard those down to one. And that is your visualization manifesting. Pinterest is like the perfect example of it. That you get a little extra money and you go, oh, I really need, hey, I've got that saved on my vision board on Pinterest. Let me go check that link. And then you purchase it and it's in your home. But you have to take action on it, okay? You can visualize how you want your life to be just by using Pinterest. You know, you can save, you know, I want this kind of atmosphere for my home. I want my studio to kind of look like this. And boy, I really, really would use this for my studio. Or, you know, I really, you know, there's parts in there where on mine where it's teaching, because good photographs don't just happen. You know, part of it is the photographer's job to, you know, prepare their subjects for the session. And you give them advice. You call them the day before and remind them to come in so they don't forget about it. And, you know, could you bring this, and could you dress this way or that way, or this would be really cool. And you talk to them about what they're kind of visualizing, what they want out of the photo session, and then you bring them in and you make that happen for them. You're taking that step to make it happen. Another example, you can check the link down below, you know, if any of you feel like donating something to me. I have a link for my wish list on Walmart. There's, you know, stuff that, and I just made this happen. And people came together to make it happen for me because I'm kind of broke, that I wanted to redecorate my kitchen. It went through, you know, we threw out a lot of my old dishes and stuff, and I needed new ones, and everybody kind of knew that, and I let them all know, this is the color I'm painting the kitchen, and this is the motif or the decor idea that I kind of running with. And, you know, Christmas time came, and I got a stack of dishes that matched it perfectly. It had the more modern sleek and, you know, that robin egg blue and like a pink and a lilac that I wanted. And I basically painted the kitchen a certain color, and it looked so much brighter in there. And then I did a painting to tie it all together of morning glories. But for that to all happen, I had to visualize, go in there, look at the room, see what I had, see what I needed to throw out, and visualize what I wanted it to look like. I had to replace my stove. Do I want a white one? Do I want a black one? Do I want a white one? Ivory one? What's going to look best with the way I'm decorating, and what can I afford? You know, and then take steps to finding, no, I definitely need a white stove to go with what I'm doing, you know, and taking steps towards that. And, you know, it doesn't always have to cost you a lot to visualize something into your life. I think I paid $40 for the stove. I got a steal on it. The thing that you got to remember is you got to put some effort towards your visualization, your intention. That's exactly kind of what a visualization is. It's an intention. I have an intention towards doing this painting, and then I take steps to do the sketch and kind of sketch out a rough, and then maybe do it again and draw, some more detail added to it. And then, you work your way up to a 4 by 4 foot mural. Life isn't any different. I mean, you can say, I want a good relationship. Everybody does. But you got to visualize it. And, I can see her being happy and smiling and, ecstatic to spend time with me, and visualizing, I want my kids to be happy. Well, what steps are you going to take to make them happy? Are you just going to come home and bitch at them every day? And I went through a period of that. Everybody does. But, especially when they're teens. Um, but you go through steps. No, I'm going to take them to the pumpkin patch. I'm going to spend time with them. I'm going to, get them dressed every morning. I'm going to cook them breakfast every morning and set them off for school in a good mood. I'm going to make sure they have 3 meals a day. And eventually, I'm going to buy them clothes. I'm going to, certain set of toys to add to their development, and eventually you get to a grown size, full-fledged adult. One of the things on my dream board, vision board, something that I want to do personally is I want to be able to gather up enough money to take my grandkids to Disneyland or Great America, one of the two or both. And then I have to sit and think about, well, how am I going to do that? Well, I want to buy this van for going to these art shows. It might as well double for a family van as well. How am I going to make that work? So I'm actually sitting and not just watching the van life shows that they're, you know, passing around on Facebook or YouTube. I'm actually, when I'm watching it, going, how did that cabinet fit in? What kind of van was that? I need to like mentally chalk up and kind of putting together a little list of, I need either a transit van or a Ram. How much is, and going and making the effort to go look up how much one of those cost. Oh my God, they're expensive. Anyway, how am I going to do the conversion? Do I want 2 cabinets or one? Do I really need the bed in it? I'm wanting to travel to go to art shows. Mine has to have the ability to move canvases around and the ability to actually carry my art supplies and be a living space. And am I going to try and buy an RV instead? So I can take the family with, and which one's more economical, and keeping my eye out open for what I'm looking for sometimes is part of manifesting what you want to happen in your life. I really liked business as, I was in my early 20s. I really liked retail. I really liked, bartending. I liked having a place where we all could meet up and socialize. That manifested into, we own a family tavern now. Taking steps towards things that would be good for your life. You think about them ahead of time. They have a farmers market every year here close to where I live, and there's several scattered across Illinois. I can see myself going to the farmers market and selling art or, photo sessions. And I take those steps that can manifest into this van that I want. Let's say, for some odd miracle that I find a way to afford the van and it's empty, and I got to piece that together little by little. Takes the steps. Well, I'm going to put the bed in, and I'm going to put the cabinet in that has a sink, and then I'm going to add I need this amount of storage space for under the bed for canvas. And you think things out. You clarify exactly, especially in the example that I'm giving. If I'm going to do the van life and go from art show to art show and travel some, that I got to get it down to the minute detail on how I'm going to piece the van together where it'll work for me as an artist. I have to have a tent for the art show, for these outdoor art shows. Where's it going to fit? And you do that all by visualizing, and getting a piece of paper and kind of drawing it out and thinking about, do I or don't I need a shower? Or can I put one in there? Do I need to waste that space? You put your intention into a vision, and that's what this 365-day project was. Of, for a decade, I sat and thought about, well, how am I going to draw or explain heaven or what I went through to other people? And step by step, it all adds up. If you go through and look at each piece in some kind of order, it tells you the story of my near-death experience, and this piece is part of it. I started another 365-day project when I was sick, things that I wanted to tell other artists or my children, things that I thought was important for them to know about life. Just bits of wisdom, not even full sentences. But I started that next 365-day project, and it went all through me having COVID and barely being able to breathe, but it kept me going until the project was done, and there was a sense of satisfaction. I've done what I set out to do. And this is kind of how you know you're on the right path with your art, that you sit down and you draw something or you paint something, and there may be a level of, it's not quite what I envisioned, but there's a level of satisfaction is it's done. I did it. I accomplished it. I reached that goal. My goal as a parent was, I want to raise little individual productive people that are an attribute to society, a plus. All my kids work, they all have jobs, they all have jobs they're proud of, they're making good money, and they can take care of themselves. I did my job as a parent. That doesn't mean that they might not struggle once in a while, everybody does, but they're productive human beings in society. I accomplished my goal. I did little steps towards it all through that when they were young. Making the software, I would set them and my nephews out on the back deck and hand them a coloring sheet and go over, how to write, how to color, it was they're coloring slash worksheets where they can write. So I was teaching my kids to write and my nephews at, I don't know, 3 years old. And my vision for all of them was they would grow up strong and healthy. After they would do the coloring sheets, they would go play on the swing set and run around and pick on each other, and and you teach them. So visualization is the intention, and it's having your intention in the right place. There are things that have come and gone in my life that served its purpose, and then you move on from them. There's things I've bought that I don't need anymore, and then there's some things that I bought that are priceless. I couldn't replace. One of the things, and there's a visualization of, for me, being told you're stupid when you're little is a big deal. And I felt stupid quite a bit, and I wanted to feel smart. I wanted not just to feel smart, but to be smart. And once I was an adult, I put the intention about it. I'm not going to stay stupid my whole life. And my first husband was extremely high IQ, and I wanted to be that, you know. So, I took the time and I went back to college and I made sure that I didn't feel stupid anymore. I did things to back it up that I'm no longer stupid. I'm educated. Educated stupid. Anyway, but anyway, I don't have that insecurity running around in me. So if there's something, that you feel insecure about, well, what could you do and to get rid of that feeling or make it go away so you don't feel that insecurity anymore? It's take steps towards that. But that's never going to happen if you don't visualize it and see yourself. I can see myself going to college. I can see myself going through the class books and sitting in the classes and getting. I personally didn't think that the piece of paper was that important, that it was the sense of accomplishment and knowing deep down, no, nobody can sit and call me stupid anymore. I never was stupid, but I had to work on self-esteem issues from childhood to get past that. And one of the steps that really helped a lot was going to the community college, taking classes, to further my career, or, things that I wanted to do in life. And I've always been able to see myself as a photographer since I was 13 years old. But it's your intent, Um, don't come from a place of malice. I want to do that, and if you do, I don't know, like when you get divorced, you have this, I want him to regret divorcing me thing. Don't come from a revenge sort of thing, just a sort of, you know, place of bettering yourself. And while you do that, it will take steps towards things that you want to see happen or manifest in your life. And that's why they go on about the law of attraction. Well, the law of attraction is, what are you visualizing, what are you thinking about and focusing on each day. I can tell you right now that looking at I can see my son's intentions clear. I'm going to go to work. I want to make my children and my girlfriend happy and have a good life. I can see my oldest intentions pretty clearly. I want to be a good mom. And, she takes steps towards that every day. She takes steps towards, she likes the career she's in, so she's taking classes and she's a step away from being a journeyman in what she does. But the key really is you have to clarify what you want, and this is why the vision boards are so important. You can clarify, I want this set of dishes, or, the room to look a certain way, but what do you want to happen in that room? Like with my kitchen, it's really important that I focus a lot more on what I'm eating and my health. I can see me cooking healthier meals in a clean kitchen, and and with because the way it was, I moved in this house and I didn't decorate it or that room, and it was just, somebody else painted it. It was awful color for me, and I just didn't want to go in there. It was like going into a dungeon because it was so dark, So I had to brighten it up and lighten it up and put my stamp on it so I could visualize me cooking healthier meals in there for myself. I mean, even we'll use the example of losing weight. I can visualize myself looking 165 pounds. I know what I look like at that point. I'm not that young, but I can still look that way. And I have to visualize that on a regular basis. I visualize I want to buy this van. Well, I got to quit this or that and make that intention happen and take action on it. And I think the key, I just want everybody to understand, and especially my kids, is you can visualize something and make that manifest in your life. It's important. It's okay to dream a little and visualize and add on to the visualization. But you can't have it just be fantasy. You have to take steps and actions towards that. And that's pretty much it on added up, because it all does add up. Your visualizations turn into actions as you clarify it more and more, and turns into your life. So I'll see you on the flip side.